Hello friends, and welcome to Escaping the Mouse with your host, me, Brock Rowell. Alright, we're kind of into the middle of March right now. I think the danger of any sudden freezes or significant drops in temperature is probably over for the year. And so today I want to start my garden. So I've decided I'm not going to go with the chili peppers this year. I'm going to go with a whole bunch of tomato plants. In fact, you saw me build a trellis for the tomato plants a couple episodes back. And instead of the chili peppers this year, I'm going to try strawberries. So I got a bunch of strawberry plants, I got a bunch of tomato plants, and we're going to put those in the ground today. Now, even though I was just out here doing some work a couple weeks ago, I had to get in here a little bit and pull out some of the grass that has begun growing in here a little bit. I just kind of went through here with a rake and kind of loosened everything up and have pulled most of it out. Most of it was kind of uprooted by the rake. But in the process of doing that, I actually destroyed one of the sprinkler heads, the one that goes right here. So before we put anything in the ground, we got to fix that. That's a simple fix. I just got to replace that little riser, dig down, screw it in there, we're good to go. Alright, so I got the head replaced. I've done something a little bit different this time because I want to get the heads a little bit higher off the level of the soil. They were sticking up a couple inches when I first installed them, but the problem is over the last couple of years, as the soil in the bed settled, it brought the sprinkler system down with it. And so heads that once were sticking well above the soil level are now right at soil or just below soil level. So at some point I'm going to probably want to replace all of them and put longer extensions on it. In fact, I ran into kind of the same problem over here because when I was installing this thing, I was about to test it and sprinkle everything and let the whole system get a little water and all that, and the water was gushing out of that fitting right there. It turns out that the same thing happened over here. The whole sprinkler system went down with the soil and it actually broke the fitting right there, and I had to replace that. I had to do the same thing over here too. I think this one leaked also, so I replaced both of them. But at some point, like I said, I want to bring the heads up, but that's a project for another day. Right now, let's get these things in the ground. Now, the first thing you want to do when you get your plants ready to go in is you got to figure out exactly where you want them. And I'm going to be cheating a little bit with the tomatoes because of my own little invention here. I am going to kind of go with the recommended spacing allowances on these strawberries. I got 18 plants. Hopefully that'll give me a nice little harvest here, and we'll see. But next step now is let's get them in the ground. All right, we got the strawberry plants in the ground. We're going to continue on now with the tomatoes. I got actually two different varieties. I got like big beefsteak tomatoes, and I got the little like cherry tomatoes. So I want to keep them separated. So I'll probably have like the beefsteak tomatoes in the back and the cherry tomatoes in the front or something like that. I don't know. We'll figure that out. And so let's get those in the ground too. Alright, just like with the strawberries, I started off now by placing the plants where I want them to be. It turns out I'm going to put the little cherry tomatoes in the back and the bigger, larger tomatoes in the front. And so hopefully the larger tomatoes will get a little bit more sun because the sun will kind of come in from this in the afternoon. They'll get good sunlight, all of them. And like I said, once they grow to the top here, they're going to lay down on the trellis. And I'm very interested to see how this is going to work. Should be very interesting, but right now I've placed one plant at the base of each of the posts, and that's how it's going to look. So let's dig some holes. Okay, we've spent a little time now, and we got the tomatoes in the ground. They're looking pretty good. Actually, I was concerned about a few of the strawberry bushes too when they went in, and a couple of them, I don't know, might not make it, but I think they're actually doing a little better now than they were. Sometimes they get a little shocked when they're initially planted and can have a little problems, but a number of them there look pretty good, and hopefully some of the weaker ones will bounce back in the next couple of days. That happens a lot. Sometimes they look a little sickly when you first put them in the ground, but you leave them in there for a while, you let them get a little water, and they tend to bounce back. And that's got to be the next step with this, is we got to give these things a good drink now. So like I said, since I replaced the sprinkler head here, I got a little dirt into the line. So what I want to do, since the line comes from there, goes this way, goes to that head, goes to that head, and goes to that head, I want to disconnect this head and that head and just turn the water on for a moment just to kind of flush everything out of there, because you won't have to worry about anything downstream, because you know, it's not going to make it down to that head, and it's definitely not going to make over to those two. But since these two are upstream of the where the dirt potentially is, those two need to be opened up and flushed out. All right, only need to let it run for a second here just to make sure we get everything flushed out. And now we can turn the water off, put the heads back on, and we'll give this whole thing a good drink. Okay, so we got the heads flushed out and got the heads replaced, and now we're just going to let it run for, I don't know, probably 10 or 15 minutes, just to give it a nice drink to start off with. We have an advantage. It's actually rained a couple times in the past week, and so the ground is already kind of naturally already moist. So that was one of the things too the guy at the nursery said when I was buying plants. Like, yeah, well, it was a good time to do this, what with the rain all this past weekend. So like I said, it probably won't need maybe even 10 minutes. Maybe I'll do even less than that, just because, like I said, the soil is already pretty moist from the rain we've gotten. But this is the start of this year's garden. Check back from time to time and I'll show you how things are going. Hopefully Flash is going to get some good strawberries this year, and hopefully I'll get a lot of tomatoes. This is definitely going to be an experiment. I'm very eager to see what happens with this. Now stay tuned for future gardening vlogs, because I got to replace some plants in here too. Always when I plant in gardens and beds like this, it's always a question of is this going to work? And if it works, then we go with it. And if it doesn't work, then we go with something else. Well, one of the things that sort of has worked is these hydrangeas. I have one of them here and another one here, and they've been in the ground for a couple of years. And truth is, they do get pummeled very easily when it gets really, really hot or really, really cold. But they seem to survive underground, and once the weather is a little bit more hospitable again, they'll come back. And so this is the third year that these hydrangeas have come back. And so I'm thinking I'm going to probably put some more of them in here, because hydrangeas are really pretty. They got beautiful flowers on them, and they're a lot of fun. And like I said, they do well in an environment like this where there's a lot of shade, because it's basically underneath all these trees, and these trees are really thin right now because it's still kind of just coming into fall a little bit, or into spring a little bit. So they'll leaf out a little bit more as time goes by, especially this thing. This thing's just starting to bloom, to sprout right now and get a few leaves on it. And that'll provide more ground cover for the hydrangea, which, like I said, they enjoy the heat but not so much the sun. So this is like the perfect place for them. And so like I said, I want to put a few more of those in here. I also have this little thing in the back, and there's a couple of those in here, and that came back too, because there's one there and there's one there, and there's actually one up here too. So I may look into that and maybe get a few more of those. Now, some of the things I put up here in the front that had different kinds of leaves, they aren't coming back. So obviously that didn't work. And honestly, there's this little clover stuff that's kind of growing around in here. I think it kind of came through the fence from the neighbor's yard. And you know what? I don't really have a problem with that growing on the ground. I like a little ground cover in here. It provides a great place for Flash to hide when she wants to escape the summer heat. And so I'll probably just let that take over in here and do its thing. I can, if I ever decide at some point I don't want it anymore, we can do something about it then. But at this point, I'm probably just going to let that do its thing too, and you know, provide a nice ground cover back here. So stay tuned. We'll be doing some more gardening vlogs and yard work vlogs in upcoming weeks, because I got to do this section. I also got to do the section near the front door, because those sections both got pummeled pretty well by the winter cold this year. So I think that's all that I have for today. So thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you next time on Escaping the Mouse. Good night. Well, look at who's up and about. You seem to pick up a little bit of a hitchhiker there, Flash. Reminds me of a joke I heard once. Two snails were sitting on the back of a tortoise, and one snail says to the other, "All right, here we go."